Arturo Riera here with Latin Percussion, talking to West Coast percussion legend, no, really multifaceted, Michael Spiro. And I'm going to try to reel off everything. You're going to correct me if I'm wrong, okay? So, professor at Indiana University.
Yeah.
Band leader of a group called Karabali.
Yeah.
Kind of band leader and co-founder of Orquesta Moderna Tradición.
Also true.
Co-band director and producer of a seminal work, you know, that really broke down the similarities of Cuban and Brazilian religious music, BataKetu.
Also true.
And, you know, frankly, just an all-around great guy.
Oh, that's too sweet. I'll take issue with that, but
just the facts, man. Just the facts. So really, I'm hoping to take a few minutes to catch up with you, because I kind of reeled all that off, and really a lot of that stuff has happened very recently, especially, you know, your move into academia, and so let's talk a little bit about that. You know, how did one go from being a, you know, San Francisco kid who loved to play, you know, salsa, and then Afro-Caribbean, and then Afro-Brazilian, and then religious music? How do you go from there to be Professor Michael Spiro?
Well, actually, as I think that through in your question, like many of us, you know, even though I was a musician as a profession, part of my work was always being a guest artist at a number of different universities. You know, clinics, camps, you know, whether they're specifically Afro-Cuban camps or Brazilian camps, or would you please come be a guest artist at our university and teach the percussion majors, and then, or play with the Latin jazz ensemble, so forth and so on. And so I guess in a lot of ways I actually was involved in a lot of teaching at universities kind of around the world, as part, like many of us do, as part of our job of being a musician. And I had gone to graduate school way back, you know, last week when I was a kid. And so, you know, I wasn't a stranger to the academy, if you will. So I got a call from the percussion department at Indiana University asking me to apply for a brand new position that they were opening up as a world percussion professor. The interesting thing for me about that is that while there are many adjunct positions around the country teaching world percussion, whether it's tabla, conga drums, Brazilian, Middle Eastern percussion, this is the only actual like tenured position that I know of. They asked me to apply. I applied and got the job, and so I now am they gave me tenure a couple of years ago, and I'm a professor there.
Professor Spiro.
Just kind of
come on,
trip.
Just the facts. It's not bragging if it's true.
And so I do that, and then I come back here to the Bay Area and play in my groups and play and be a musician.
A little later, we're going to see you play with one of my favorite groups. It plays a kind of charanga style of Cuban music, you know, combining violins, or the way the sound person said earlier today, fiddles, violins, and and flute, traditional.
He's from
music.
Texas, everybody.
He's
you gotta
Texas,
understand.
yeah, you gotta.
You know.
But you know, tell us about Orquesta Moderna Tradición, which by the name, you know, the orchestra playing of the modern tradition.
Sure,
and yet
because
it's really playing a very old school kind of music.
Yeah, and this is, you know, for those of us that studied a lot of Cuban music, as I had to do to learn how to play it. The danzón and the cha-cha-cha have a very large place in our hearts, and then in my case, having played in a group called the Orquesta Batachanga here in the Bay Area now, literally 30 years ago, which played...
You didn't have to bring that up.
Yeah, I know, please.
All right, come on.
But we played charanga, and we were the only band in the Bay Area that did. And so I've always had this place in my heart for Cuban dance music with fiddles and flute rather than necessarily horns. And so well over 10 years ago now, the orquesta was founded with Roberto Morel and Trey Garat and myself, and still many of the same players are still here today. And we play contemporary Cuban charanga, timba, but we still always and without exception will play danzones and cha-cha-chas, because that's our love. And we may be the only band left in the country that does that. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't charanga musicians throughout the country, but I don't know if there are any charanga bands anymore, even in New York.
Well, you know, it's hard to see a Latin big band anywhere these days.
Yeah.
It's hard to find those gigs, and the paychecks are getting a little slimmer.
Yeah.
But Michael Spiro, thank you so much for all your work in this musical tradition. You know, you are one of those folks that of this contemporary age is really contributing to the art form as an artist, but also really playing a significant role in educating that next generation of percussionists. And, you know, when you're talking about academically trained university, orchestral, big band type education, the fact that you're introducing world music as a legitimate art form, legitimate academic pursuit, you know, is really exciting. So thank you for being that, you know, first light out there.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, Arturo, very much. And I would say that I'm like other people in other arenas, I actually take that work order very seriously. My students will tell you that this is not something I take lightly, because I feel that I am, in fact, trying to bring this music into an environment that doesn't even necessarily know it exists, let alone that would honor and respect it. So it is a task that I take very seriously, and I appreciate that you would comment on that. That's very gracious of you.
Well, it's just the facts, ma'am, once again.
There we go, Walter Brennan. We're showing our age here now.
Well, Arturo Riera here with Latin Percussion. The pleasure of living on the West Coast is really working with so many of the great artists of our age playing these wonderful instruments made by Latin Percussion. Michael Spiro, you are one of them. So thank you.
Bye, everybody.